Okay, so let's talk about some strategies of qualitative approach. Now, there are dozens and dozens, maybe even hundreds. I'm not sure how many exact, distinct qualitative methods there are, but there are definitely some more popular and common ones. And I mainly want to highlight three strategies. Now, you can find a textbook that probably has 5 or 6 or 8 or whatever, but I think these three are some of the most common, and most likely you're going to find what you need within one of these three. Okay, so each of them has a slightly different goal, a slightly different approach, and it doesn't even matter what you're studying. You could be studying the same thing and use any one of these approaches, but you'll walk away telling a somewhat different story. Okay, so let's dive in real quick. So on one hand, there's a kind of basic task you're trying to accomplish. And I'll walk through these. So you may be trying to interpret a culture. And in that case, you'd be using ethnography. Ethnography was really popularized by anthropologists when they would go study other cultures. And really, you're trying to dissect a culture to explain why it does the things it does, what are certain norms and values that exist in this subculture. And you really just want to unpack just the cultural meanings to that group as they see it through their own eyes. Now, maybe the task then would be a little different, and rather than explaining a culture, you want to explain the process behind something. How did a particular thing come to be the way that it is? And you want to have it create a theory for that. Now, that would be called grounded theory. Grounded theory means rather than already having a theory up front about why something is the way it is, you go in, take a look at the data itself, and you make observations of this social setting, and then you begin to come up with your ideas and theories. And so, the typical scientific method starts with theory, moves to observations, but grounded theory is much more inductive. You start with observations, find patterns, and then end by coming up with theories. And this approach, grounded theory, was really popularized by sociologists. And then the last one, case studies, right? In this case, you're trying to explain a phenomenon. How specifically, why did this certain event or circumstance take place? And what do we have to learn from it? And this strategy has been promoted by social science influenced professional kind of studies areas, like people who study business or social work or education. And so in this case, you're really looking at something that happened. Now, maybe it's a biographical account of something that happened to a group of people. Maybe it's an event. For example, there's a case studies of nuclear meltdown, and what steps did they do right or wrong, or maybe it's in business schools they do this a lot with the choices that big companies had to make. And so you kind of walk through it like a case study of what happened, and you kind of learn these leadership principles or whatever it is they're trying to teach. So whatever topic you're interested in, you can approach it with any one of these. But what do you really want to tell? Do you want to tell the cultural meaning behind that for that group of people? Do you want to come up with a new theory about why something in that group happens the way that it does? Or do you want to identify a specific event or something that happened and teach a principle or some key insights as a result of that thing that happened? So make that choice. And we'll go a little deeper into each of these as well.